Hello, I'm Phil Svitek, 360 Creative Coach. And in this episode, I want to talk about our sort of incessant desire for real-time information and why that's actually not what we should be looking for. There's another thing we should be focusing more on. I'm going to talk about that. But before I fully get into it, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So, let's get into this. This piece of knowledge, if you want to call it that, comes from Ryan Holiday. He talked about it on a recent episode of The Daily Stoic when he was making an introduction for an episode that would be ultimately hosted by Robert Greene, one of his mentors, right, and very famous author. And the thing that he was talking about was sort of news and our desire for real-time information, right? Always at the speed of light, just like whatever the latest thing is, just having it sort of pumped into us, right? You know, that's why we oftentimes check social media. That's why we oftentimes can binge watch news and things like that. And especially like with the state of the world, it kind of becomes this incessant and somewhat insidious thing that we do. But as he argues, unless we're in key decision-making positions, or we are ourselves journalists that, need to have this information in order to provide the best story, what we as, for lack of a better term, regular citizens should be focused on is perspective. Because there's nothing that we can do in a specific moment, unless it's like something that, yes, will obviously save your life and things like that, right? Which I guess in a sense is tangential to the idea of being in a key decision-making position. For example, let's say, a natural disaster, God forbid, is coming, then, and it's affecting where you live, then yes, you need to have that real-time information so you can make the best possible decisions, right? But when you're not in that position, it doesn't matter what it is, right? And I'm just going to take kind of something like the Ukraine war, right? You should be informed, yes, but you're not in a position to affect that conflict in a real, minute by minute basis. What you instead need is perspective. That's really it, right? So you need to be able to take in kind of filtered and curated information, think about it, and furthermore, really process it, right? Through your own lens, as well as be intentional about the other forms of knowledge that you're taking in, right? And that's why, certainly experts exist in this way, although I think that's kind of in many ways also become a little bit bastardized, but I won't go into that quite fully. That's for another day. But the idea is, it's just that awareness that no, you are not responsible for something in that moment. You have an ability to create change, ideally positive, right? That's what you would want. But that happens through well thought out action, right? You're not the one, having a million people bombard you about that specific thing, and it's like, hey, we need you to make a decision. No, unlike those key decision makers, you have the allowance of time on your side to take a step back and be a little bit more thoughtful about it. And that's what we as a society do need, is informed citizens that aren't just reactive to the information, but can really respond in a more thoughtful manner, right? Because we are so quick to, social media in many ways has conditioned us in this way. And also just the pressures of modern life of, even just like this idea that when an email comes in or a text comes in, it's like, if you don't answer it right away, then it just gets buried and piled up on top of others and blah, blah. So it's like, okay, I gotta, and you feel this like almost guilt for not responding right away, right? And like I said, today there's so many ways of gaining access to us 24/7. Even when we're asleep, people have that sort of quote unquote access to us. And, when you wake up, it's like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff I haven't, gotten to. So in the moments that we can, right, it's realizing, what's important, right? Most of the stuff that we're responding to is not important. That's another thing for another day, though, as well. But recognizing, that just the day-to-day aspects of, the news in general, it doesn't require us to think fast on our feet and instead be methodical and calculated about it so we can make the best decision and then, kind of voice that decision to our lawmakers, discuss it with, neighbors, friends, and family, our local community, whatever it may be. But that is our part to play. And we must recognize that part. And it doesn't diminish our role in any of this. It's an integral part. I used to look down upon academics and critics in many ways, but it is critics and academics who have this sort of allowance of time and thus perspective to be able to look at something and assess it of like, wait. This is moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And what are the pros and cons of this that aren't being considered? And that's what we must do as citizens. That's why when it comes to news and information, we don't need it to be real time. We need the best perspectives. So that way we can make the most informed decisions and actions. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions or thoughts of your own, please share down in the comment section or hit me up on social media at Svitek. If you appreciate what I do and think you might benefit from direct interactions but cannot afford my coaching and consulting, that's okay. That's what my Patreon page is for, patreon.com/PhilSvitek. It allows us to interact and you get various benefits through the different tiers that are available to you. Likewise, you can also support me through the books and the movies and other stuff that I put out. It's all in the description box. By supporting that stuff, it supports this because doing that stuff informs me, and thus I can share the insights with you and make your life a little bit easier, hopefully. Anyway, that's what I have. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope to see you next time.